This is Paul with LSP Data, where we focus on niche data to help you find your next sub-market deal. In this video, I wanted to share a project that I'm working on around text extraction. So think of any documents that you may have that are scanned, right? So any scanned documents, whether it's real estate, insurance documents, even medical. A lot of use cases out there, but in the past, historically, we were doing a lot of, doing this type of information and leveraging really good Python resources. For many years, I used something called Tesseract. So this is going to get a little bit technical at times, so bear with me. But the main thing is for this use case, and because a lot of you, our audience is in real estate, right? I know you had this case where maybe you found a property and you're trying to calculate the, maturity date, who the borrower is, what was the initial interest, that sort of thing as well, right? And if you're using commercial platforms, this is how the equity is typically calculated, right? So that information is pretty important in general. So again, this is going to resonate with a lot of you because a lot of this you're doing manually, or maybe you're paying a virtual assistant to do this, right? So the point here is, how do we get this scanned document, right, and turn it into meaningful information? So that example I showed you, how do we turn that and easily extract the information that we need, right? Because as you know, and depending on your background, you come across different documents that, the scan quality varies, right? Or some of them may even have handwriting notes, right, which makes it even more difficult. So in this instance, again, we're trying to find this type of information to calculate, equity and other relevant information. So that way, when you get into a call with the homeowner, you understand the situation a lot better. You understand if there's still a leftover mortgage to pay off, right? That type of information. So in the past, there was, again, challenges in the level of quality of extraction, of text extraction, right? Meaning that because the quality of the images of the scanned documents varied, sometimes we had to be very, say, aggressive with our settings to be able to extract text. And again, we're dealing with a lot of data in general, right? So for us, speed was also a consideration here. So what we did in the past is that we use libraries such as Tesseract, which work really well. They're very speedy, but the accuracy is not the best, right? I think it's better than a lot of them, but a lot of libraries, but it's not 100%. And we're trying to provide the best sort of quality and accuracy for our customers and for our platform, right? So again, a combination of that and also a lot of Python regex to capture relevant data, right? All this in simple terms, I'm creating, think about patterns, right? So how does a monetary value looks like? How does a date value look like, right? That sort of thing. And in the past, because we host our own hardware, right? So we run our own our own hardware, physical servers, and now we've added GPU capabilities, right? So we like to control and host our own models because it helps with the cost as well, right? And again, you can accomplish something like this using any open models out there, right? It's just, you have to pay for it. Anyways, so moving forward today, we found that there's other LLM models that are really good for image and text extraction and recognition, right? And in this instance, I came across something called Mini CPM and also a DeepSeek OCR model, which we tested, right? And this is sort of the logic that we wanted, right? How can we get a scan document, such as PDF, converted to an image, usually in a PNG format, and apply an OCR LLM, right? And then based on the text extraction, because it does a better job in accurately extracting the text, then we can send it to a reasoning model, in this case, DeepSeek R8, right? Because this is a smaller model and it does a really good job in contextualizing what we're asking for, right? So this is the steps. And at the end, obviously extract this to a CSV, right? I'll give you how this looks like, which is pretty exciting. So in this case, this information was extracted from various PDF documents, right? I'm just gonna hide this here. But we thought, this is really, really cool, because in the past, again, we were able to capture a lot of this information, but the accuracy wasn't there. So I'm really excited that this is working very well. And again, because we have the hardware that supports this, it makes it a lot easier to process larger amount of documents, right? And typically, when it comes to, obviously, as you know, if you ran through this type of documents, right, some of them can be very big in file size and also a lot of pages, right? So as you get better with this, right, obviously you'll know where the relevant information is located. And again, just kind of moving on. Again, as I always remind you with this AI videos, right, prompting is everything. So obviously you can feed, ChatGPT or Gemini a document. Now the context window is a lot bigger, so obviously you can upload a lot more text than before. However, if you just ask it, hey, give me the maturity value, give me the initial loan, etc., right? Sometimes they may not know. It may provide inaccurate information, right? So obviously, as always, provide context, because in this document, sometimes there is different language being utilized, right? So in this case, borrower can be also a truster, right? Principal amount can also be loan amount, etc., right? And then if you want to take it a step further, you can have an extended prompt. I've had this interesting enough. This is the power of Gemini, right? So I had a text of what the prompt would be, right? And I just ask it to, write it in a more friendly format. So this was my original prompt. And I just said, write it as if it was, printed out, right? So this is pretty impressive. Sidetracking. But yeah, so again, this is part of the context that you're providing for your prompt, right? And that way you start pulling better information. Why? Because sometimes it may pull, there's a lot of numbers sometimes in these documents. Some of them may be, $36 of the processing fee and whatnot for the deed of trust, right? Or depending on the documents. So context, it comes into plays quite a bit, because obviously that $36 is not typically what a principal amount would be, like initial loan, right? So again, it makes a lot of sense for you to specify a lot, right? Yeah. So for example, here we're saying exclude recording fees, nominal considerations, basically exclude small amounts. And again, I'm going to keep reiterating this because this is very important, right? Prompting is quite important. So that way you get better, accurate responses and less hallucinations. And again, like I mentioned, we had good success in leveraging this Mini CPM V and a DeepSeek model, right? We're running this from Ollama, which you can run even if you're running Windows. You can run certain LLM models as well. And again, you could probably accomplish this in other areas and other platforms, right? But for us, again, this is really, really cool because we go from manually looking at this or previously pulling, specific, like I mentioned earlier, with other OCR Python libraries, which are great. But again, I think I made a video in the past and I talked about the quality of extraction, right? Meaning that if your OCR is not extracting really good text, then it's going to be very, very, very difficult to get the reasoning model to give you accurate information, right? So I hope that makes sense. Again, you can apply this use cases to any other vertical, right? Again, because my audience, and this is a prop tech space, a lot of real estate, but if you have insurance, any scan documents, right? You could do that. And for us, we're trying to apply this to our platform, and that way we can provide you more information about specific properties, right? And just to bring you more value. The next steps, right? Well, first, again, reminding you that we have a platform. We provide county information and also code violation information, right? That's my quick sales pitch. But going back to providing value, what is the next step for me? Is setting up NA8 automations here, so that way we can maybe even allow you as a customer or just as a test user to be able to upload a file, like let's say either in a format of a PDF or in the format of an image, right? Or multiple documents, right? And allow you to upload those, and then we process them, right? Either leveraging or Ollama or Gemini or whatever model we're interested in, right? Again, you could probably accomplish something similar yourself, but I think where you're gonna have to do a bit of research is on that prompting, right? So you can get useful information. Again, like I always mention, there is a lot of documents, right, related to a county. So again, depending on the type of, let's say if your use cases are pre-foreclosure, right? Obviously, given certain contexts of what this all means, right, is going to help you a lot more. I can think of document like notice, right? In a lot of county clerk portals, it just says notice, but it may be notice of foreclosure, notice of sale, etc., right? So that's when I think the true value of this OCR extraction, right? Grabbing the text, contextualizing it with a contextualization model. In my case, DeepSeek, right? Works really well. So again, in the future, it'd be really cool if we get to a point where we can provide you a place to upload any type of document, right? Obviously for us, I'm not a big fan of uploading this type of documents in, big vendors, right? That's just me. That's why we run our own local hardware, so none of those documents ever leave. And yeah, that's, just from that point of view, feel more comfortable with that. And anyways, going back to this, creating and next step is create a workflow with NA8, being able to upload a document through a web portal, and then processing that information, and then maybe sending you a digest or a email summary with the properties, with all the relevant information, and obviously contextualizing it with our own information, because we have large data sets of parcel data, right? So that way we can provide you with property information, what type of asset class is it an absentee, mailing address, all that good stuff. So anyways, just wanted to share this cool project, and hopefully you get some ideas out of this. And again, thanks for watching.